King 5 investigators expose how the death of a Skagit County disabled veteran was kept secret from his family.
That secret led to pain and grief for his loved ones, as well as the denial of a proper military burial with honors that all veterans deserve. As King 5's Susanna Frame reports, the truth finally came out because of the coronavirus.
He's got serious health issues. It scared me to death.
In late March, Kathy Nayon of Burien called the Skagit County Sheriff's Office to conduct a welfare check. She couldn't get a hold of her only brother, Michael Johnson, who, at this point, was sick and fragile. And fears about the coronavirus were heating up.
I needed to know my brother was okay.
It only took about 15 minutes before a deputy called her back.
And then she told me, your brother died in 2018.
Kathy says the siblings were close throughout childhood, but in her brother's final years, it was nearly impossible to get a hold of him. This is Michael Johnson's nephew, Brandon Hulse.
The communication just eventually completely died out.
Records obtained by the King 5 investigators detail how Michael Johnson's daughter, Jody Hendry Conrad, had taken care of his affairs. A 2018 report shows she'd called police to notify them her father had passed away. At the funeral home, the daughter requested no funeral or obituary. And the official death certificate lists the daughter reported the 62-year-old veteran died from multiple organ failure.
But here's the problem. Michael Johnson didn't have a daughter. He was never married and didn't have any kids at all.
Jody Hendry Conrad was actually Johnson's longtime live-in caregiver, shown here outside his home in concrete. She's also a convicted felon who, according to the family, isolated him by cutting off all ties with relatives.
This is morally wrong. And the devastation that it causes a family is ridiculous. And it's hard.
Medical records show in his last years, Johnson's physical and mental health declined, while Hendry Conrad's power increased. In his will, he left everything to her, and upon his death, she would be the personal representative in charge of all affairs, as if the family didn't even exist.
The thought of my brother going to his grave not knowing we loved him kills me.
Behind the scenes, professionals were concerned about Hendry Conrad's motives. In a 2011 medical progress note, a VA social worker wrote, "The veteran is at risk for financial exploitation." Another social worker said Hendry Conrad receives his monthly VA check and uses it for her children and family.
Isolation is a huge issue for seniors.
David Newbeck is an elder law attorney representing Johnson's family. He says seniors without regular contact with family and friends are at greater risk of exploitation.
There's no one watching, right? And so you don't know if she had been taking advantage of him during his lifetime. Nobody knows.
By telephone, Hendry Conrad told us she hasn't done anything wrong. There was no financial exploitation, and she never told anyone she was the daughter. She says people just assumed it.
The worst part of it is that Michael was denied his right to have a proper burial.
After a career in the military, the Air Force and Coast Guard, Michael Johnson was entitled to a service with honors. His sister says he wanted to be buried at Tahoma National Cemetery in Kent.
And he liked the idea. He knew that he was going to go there.
With Hendry Conrad in control, that's not what happened. As the daughter, she signed paperwork directing a different course of action, releasing his body to the Lake Washington Institute of Technology for funeral service students to practice embalming skills. Because of that, he was cremated for free.
He would have never wanted that. He would have made him so uncomfortable just thinking about it. That's not even something he would even consider.
It feels like he was just discarded.
We're gathered here in these hallowed grounds of this national cemetery to pay our last respects to our fallen veteran, Michael Johnson.
In August, 4 months after finding out the truth and getting his remains back, Johnson's family was finally able to pay tribute to their loved one at Tahoma National Cemetery.
He served honorably with sacrifice and courage. He earned his way into this cemetery, a final resting place.
I think it was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment, and I think he would be really proud.
Michael Johnson's family says they're beginning to see justice. Jody Hendry Conrad has been charged with a crime in this case. She's accused of lying under oath to become Johnson's executor, saying she'd never been convicted of a felony, which isn't true. This morning in Skagit County, she pleaded not guilty to the charge of perjury. Susanna Frame, King 5 News.